But anyway, let's go ahead and hear.
Let me know your thoughts after we watch this, because I agree with you. Cenk's usually very egotistical, doesn't like admitting that he's wrong or kind of ceding the spotlight to anybody. But yeah, I kind of get the sense that he knows he's wrong here, that he knows what he's advocating for is not even consistent with his own previous statements, especially regarding third-party candidates, let alone third-party candidates like RFK. But yeah, let's check this out, guys.
It's from Super Chat. Jonathan Andron wrote in, Jenks. I just called myself Jenks. Okay, Cenk, it makes no sense to continue to press for another Democratic nominee who will maintain the status quo while RFK Jr. has a real opportunity to win this thing and to get money out of politics. Jonathan, I don't know any host on the left that has been fair to RFK Jr. at all, period, a single one, let alone as fair as me. So I'm telling you his downsides, I'm telling you his upsides. No one ever tells you his upsides, but I'm not gonna hide his downsides. So the reality is he has both of those, and I don't know what to do with them, right? So, but as I said last night, I got enough balls to say I'm considering him, which is like in my world, that's heresy. Like in my circles, they'll burn me at the stake for saying one of us. I'm considering RFK Jr. Okay, but I am, because his housing is better, his defense is better, his money in politics is way better, and I say
his defense is better. Hold on the phone. Rabbi Shmuley's best friend, defense is better. Mr. I have very weird, tailored policy on Ukraine that I divorced from all of my other thinking as soon as it stops taking place in like this weird Cold War Russian conflict area. I have no ability to eloquently discuss any other foreign policy matters. I'm an absolute train wreck when it comes to the leading global crisis right now. Are you fucking kidding me? On top of that, he's a Nepo baby with no experience. What the fuck? You're falling at his feet because he said one or two nights. We need to have young people be able to buy homes again. I have 7 or 8 homes. It makes my life a lot better. I'd like for the poor's to have just one home. You can still have 7 or 8 of them. I'm keeping mine and my boat, my family vineyard, but the poor's need to have one house. She's like, this guy's really spitting. I also have 5 or 6 houses, and I think we could keep the pitchforks at bay if we just give the poor's one house. So he's kind of reaching me. You know what? Anyway, that's Cenk's analysis. Let's go ahead and hear what Jordan Uhl.
It's interesting too, because like I said, Cenk has never entertained third-party candidacies. I mean, they had a third-party debate on TYT in 2016 between Garrett Johnson and Jill Stein, but Cenk himself has always been like, yeah, we gotta vote Democrat, like even if it's not a progressive, vote Hillary, vote Biden, whatever. So I do really find it weird that now, amidst TYT's whole right-wing pivot, whatever you want to call it, at least from Cenk and Anna, no shade to the other contributors like Jordan, who clearly are holding things down for the left, as we're about to see. But I do find it really weird that it's just so conveniently timed. All of a sudden, Cenk, changes his tune on a third-party candidacy, and with RFK Jr., who he, by the way, has been photographed hanging out with, taking hikes with. Yeah. They kind of seem to have like rubbed elbows.
You like hiking with genociders, Gavin?
Yeah. So I feel like part of it is the fact that Cenk, has just like kind of become friends with RFK, maybe not like close friends, but they've run into each other. They're they've gone on hikes together. They probably had some drinks or whatever. So it's harder to criticize someone that you've met, I guess, or hung out with or feel warmly towards. I also just think that, yeah, he knows that, they're trying to court this new kind of right-wing audience, and mostly it's right-wingers that like RFK Jr., but I still think it's deeply insincere. I think Cenk knows that RFK Jr. doesn't have a chance in hell at actually winning this race, and that's where I really come down on this. If I actually thought, and if Cenk actually thought that Robert F. Kennedy Jr. had a chance of becoming president, like a serious shot at it, then it would be one thing, right? Like, you have to consider all the candidates, and obviously Biden is so bad that I could kind of understand someone like Cenk saying, well, we really are between a rock and a hard place here. This is the bleakest options we've ever been presented with. Let's at least look at RFK's positions in contrast to the other ones. But what's even the point of doing that? We all know that RFK is not going to win. We just know it. There's a 0% chance he will not win. So at this point, Why not just support Jill Stein? Why not support Chase Oliver? In my opinion, they're both better than RFK significantly.
Yeah, that's the question I have, right? If you're going to flirt with RFK when he has absolutely no chance of getting the nominee, why not use your massive progressive network to boost the Green Party, right? It would be the first time since 2016 they've done that. That's 8 years, guys. I mean, what the fuck? What are you doing? You're just pissing in the wind. Cenk doesn't even talk about how he ran for president, right? He ran for president conveniently at the time that his book finally came out. You know, isn't that crazy? He had such bad luck. He just doesn't even talk about it anymore. And he's so ready to move on with it that he's propping up RFK. I would at least be ready to reconcile with the Young Turks if they were willing to take a bold stand, like supporting Jill Stein. I understand Jill Stein's not perfect. You know, she's run a few times and hasn't quite been able to get over the hump, but I think her policy is there. And I think that if progressive media really said, hey guys, like, let's do everything we can to get the Green Party to 5%, I think it would at least give people something that they could work towards, a hopeful goal, something inspiring. Instead, we've got this, but I'm curious to hear and have everybody listen to what Jordan Uhl has to say in response.
Yeah, let's take a look.
If you give me a random American, I'll take them over Biden or Trump. Because I know I'm going to get wall-to-wall corruption with Biden and a wall-to-wall lunacy and potential fascism with Trump. So I'll take a rando. At least they're not crooked, right? They're going to be honest. Maybe they're the right, left, or whatever, but at least they're not going to be crooks. So if I'll take a rando, will I take RFK Jr. over these two clowns? I don't know. I haven't made up my mind yet. But so if you're in the camp of hating me for that, now go ahead and hate me. If you're in the camp of saying, no, you should have already made up your mind to support him, go ahead and hate me for that. Or just let's all try to figure this thing out together. Okay. Maybe super last thing. Jordan, maybe I'm stating it wrong, because you know things online better than I do, to be honest. Is there anyone on the left that's saying, yeah, maybe we should look at RFK Jr.?
No, nobody that I really see. I think he's mostly seen as a kind of.
We're gonna hear that one.
No, nobody that I really see. I think he's.
He didn't even have to think about it. He's like, no.
Mostly seen as a kind of a crank conspiracy theorist. I mean, some of the stuff he says is just so ludicrous, right? He's blaming big pharma for school shootings. He blamed antidepressants for school shootings. That's not true. Like he has, you brought it up to him. He has
responsible for Columbine. I read that on Infowars.com.
And Jimmy Dore told me those kids just didn't get enough sunlight. Nope.
I think a totally incoherent stance on how to address climate change. You want a free market response to climate change, but also the corporations that are in that free market and operating in that free market have completely captured the regulatory agencies designed to address climate change. There are so many things, of course, like the January 6th sympathies to insurrectionists, hiring a J6er, just it goes. Not to mention, of course, being almost completely anti-vax. I could never.
Pro-Israel, they don't even get to that yet. There's so many things wrong with this guy that Jordan hasn't even had to lay down the elephant in the room. The disqualifier of all disqualifiers is that he basically has no restrictions on aids and weapons to Israel. Yep. Okay, and that non-starter for me.
Yep. It's also pretty funny that Jordan brought up his anti-vax position, which obviously is, one of the defining elements of his entire political brand. You guys might remember Cenk was pretty anti-vaxxer. He even had a shirt, I think, that said anti-vax that he wore during that debate with Hassan. I still remember that. So yeah, I mean, just a couple of years ago, this guy was out here like, anti-vaxxers are the worst threat to public health in the entire world. This is crazy, yada, yada, yada. And the same thing with the Ukraine and Russia. Cenk was all like, Slava Ukraine and all that shit. Now he's just going to ignore his complete difference with RFK when it comes to the analysis of that conflict too. Pretty crazy. But let's keep going because Jordan makes some more great points.
Bring myself to support him.
I don't know that that's a ba-dum-bum, but okay. Maybe it's a different sound effect. Look,
Jake,
I think his vice president is even worse on vaccines, the vice presidential candidate, like to the point where it's super awkward. But I would actually
not bad enough.
Now you got me defending him a little bit. Like he says free market, but that's the problem with RFK Jr. which is when he says free market on the climate change stuff, and then I press him on it, he says, well, free market, except I would make them pay their externalities, which is not free.
He's doing exactly what people who support Donald Trump do all the time. Who's basically he'll say something and then they'll be like, no, he didn't mean it like that. This is what he actually meant. Because trust me, you don't know Donald like I know Donnie. Donnie says whatever. He reads the room. He plays it back. Oh, come on. You don't know Donnie like I know Donnie. Do you know Donnie like
it's also what Cenk himself does constantly when it comes to like, oh, I support Bernie, but also I love capitalism and I'm, a democratic capitalist, but also trust me, I'm a huge lefty. Like, you know what I'm saying? He kind of loves to play that game himself.
Yeah, it's all LARPing. But anyway, we could keep going. I just think that's hilarious.
Yeah.
Market, that's massive regulation saying, hey, if you're polluting or you're doing things that are adding to climate change, I'm going to increase your costs dramatically, which is actually the most extreme, but in a positive way, climate change proposal. But I don't know which one he actually means. That's one part of my issue. If I thought he really meant I'm going to enforce their externalities on them, that would probably tip me over and I would vote for him. Do you see why that would be way more left than anything that anybody else is proposing?
You see why that's
if
right?
he was telling the truth, though. So I think the problem with him is he says what he thinks the person he's talking to wants to hear. That's one example. Abortion is another example. Him and Shanahan have completely changed their stances multiple times on abortion. They've ranged from no restrictions in one interview, and then when pressed on it, oh no, there would be restrictions. Then it was varying numbers of weeks in the pregnancy where they would enforce a restriction. And at one point, a reporter asked, "Hey, there's no real clear plan in your platform, on your website about your abortion stance. What is it?" And he goes, "You tell me. What should it be?" Like, I just don't trust him at all. I think he's a politician who is saying anything he can to increase his support. He's not gonna get elected. I mean, he can't. He doesn't have the math is not there. So it seems like a wasted vote.
I don't know about a couple of things you said, Jordan. I hear you.
Like what?
So number one, on abortion, you're totally right that he's all over the map and that he's doing it on purpose to try to appeal to both sides. But he did land on Roe v. Wade, right? So I read it because I had to get ready for the interview, et cetera. So Shanahan said things that weren't Roe v. Wade.
This is crazy because he's like, well, hey man, I know he's changed his position like 4 or 5 times, but don't worry, I read one of those that I liked, and so I'm pretty sure that's the one that he's gonna keep it on. I'm just saying. Yeah, I know you saw him say a bunch of other shit, but I read somewhere that he also said this, and I'm pretty sure that's what he actually meant. I know the guy. He's a good guy. He probably thinks like I do.
Yeah, he told me on a hike.
Yeah, anyway, right after his name gave him a hand job, so he was real clear-eyed. Had that post.
And then he came in and clarified and said, okay, basically the Roe v. Wade standard. Okay, so I'll take it, but I'm worried because he's all over the map and he's trying to please everyone. I get it, right? And in terms of whether he could win, he was at 20 points. But man, they got to just, if they give him town halls and he gets to make his case and he says some of the things like, hey, you know what, on housing, I'm not gonna let the private equity guys buy the houses. That is gonna be supernova popular, okay? And then can he get past 20 points? Yeah, especially when one of the candidates is barely alive. No, so I don't know. But yeah, I asked, hey, is anyone on the left?
Commentator. This is crazy, guys. I'm sorry, I have to pull that off for a second. This man covers politics for a living, makes millions of dollars doing it, or at one point did. He's probably squandered much of his fucking market share at this point with horrible, just shallow and unreasonable analysis. But I lost my train of thought. I don't even care to respond to what he's saying anymore. He's basically saying like, oh, don't worry, he's gonna say that he's gonna give everybody a house, and then the math doesn't matter. 6 states on the ballot, write-in campaign. Everybody's gonna show out. He just has to get on camera and say something he's already said on camera like 3 or 4 times. But trust me, I know how to run a presidential campaign. I got to half of 1% in a single poll. Like, you know what I mean? It's just crazy. He's delusional. And on top of that, he doesn't talk about the fact that he's literally only on like 6 states ballots right now. He does not have a path to the Electoral College. At this point, the only people who do are Chase Oliver and I believe Jill Stein.
Yeah.
Nobody else has a path to 271 or whatever.
270, I think. Yep.
So Cenk doesn't even bother to grapple with that after Jordan points it out to him that he's not even a viable candidate because of that.
Yeah. And it's just, pathetic to me because like I get it. It's not fun as a political commentator or a horse race commentator to just sit here and be like, yep, it's basically between Biden or Trump, guys. Like that's not sexy. But that's what Cenk used to do. That's what he used to do. That is his position, that, you got to just vote for the Democrat. And that's not necessarily our position. We've always advocated for third party candidates.
I'm voting for Jill Stein. I don't give a shit.
Yeah, we've always talked about the importance of building third parties, something which, by the way, is completely absent from Cenk's analysis and why he thinks it's important to support RFK, because RFK is not part of a third party that actually could be built. Even if he were to reach 5%, 10%, whatever, it would just all, dissipate. It would just it's basically just a self-enrichment scheme for RFK and a way for him to get more attention in the media, which he craves, right? There's nothing actually being built here, which is why Zach and I actually advocate for the Green Party. And it's also why when Cornel West left the Green Party to become independent, we were kind of like, you're on your own, bro, because what the hell's the point? This isn't just about you. It's about the third party movement. And if you're going to ask people to essentially throw their vote away and vote for someone who's not going to win the general election, then you better at least promise them that there's something actually being built, that there's actually a project you're contributing to politically outside of just a protest vote where you go into the ballot box and say, I don't like the Democrat or the Republican, so I'm going to vote for Donald Duck or whatever the fuck, like that's basically what the RFK campaign is. It's just like a, pissing and moaning and like, I'm anti-establishment. I don't like the Democrats. But nothing is being built. And even if RFK got to 15%, nothing, it wouldn't matter. It wouldn't ensure federal funding for the RFK party in 2028. No, he's just going to go back to being a rich, sick fuck. Also, I wanted to throw this up on screen real quick too, because it's not getting enough attention. This Vanity Fair article came out a couple days ago, and most people focused on the rape allegation, or rather the sexual assault allegation against his nanny, and then the dog, which he supposedly ate, which may or may not have been a goat.
I've seen a goat before, bro.
Anyway, this is actually a crazy part of the article that I don't think is getting enough attention, and that I didn't even really know about fully. So I wanted to talk about this too, and how RFK actually represents a very unique threat to the public health that not even Donald Trump or Joe Biden represent. And honestly, in my opinion, this makes either the Democrat or Republican in many ways actually preferable to RFK, even if he was a viable candidate, just given how batshit crazy his policy on vaccines is. So as it says here, with each public and private rejection, whether the retraction of his Rolling Stone article or his breakups with environmental groups, Kennedy dug in deeper and deeper. Increasingly, his anti-vaccine work was taking precedent. In 2018, Kennedy involved himself in a largely forgotten vaccine controversy in the American Samoan Islands. That year, 2 children died after receiving the MMR vaccine, sparking an island-wide furor. Though it was later revealed that 2 nurses made a critical error administering the vaccines, accidentally introducing expired muscle relaxants into the formula, Kennedy's nonprofit took to social media to hype the deaths as evidence of vaccine danger. So it wasn't the vaccine fault. It was these 2 nurses who accidentally put expired muscle relaxants in the formula that killed these 2 kids in American Samoa, not the vaccine. But under public pressure, the Samoan prime minister halted MMR vaccines on the island. In June of 2019, Kennedy and his wife, Cheryl Hines, flew to Samoa, lending celebrity wattage to local anti-vaccine advocates, giving press interviews, and taking a private meeting with the PM. Over the ensuing month, the island was hit with the largest measles outbreak in its history, infecting over 5,000 citizens, killing 83 people, most of them children. The outbreak was so lethal, the prime minister declared a state of emergency and offered mandatory vaccinations, eventually curtailing the spread. Later, one of Kennedy's biggest critics, a pediatrician and member of the FDA's Advisory Committee on Vaccines, Paul Offit, told PBS that RFK Jr. has everything to do with that, and that shows you how disinformation can kill. And I think he's 100% correct. Even though obviously RFK wasn't literally the person in a position of power making those decisions, he absolutely used his influence and his celebrity to cause this policy, and literally led to the deaths of over 80 people and the infections of almost 6,000. Of course, no one really heard about this or cared about it because they were brown people living in American Samoa. But you better fucking believe you would have heard about it. And a lot of people would have cared about it if these were people living in Idaho or Arizona or wherever else. But basically, RFK and his anti-vax cohort just used these poor people in American Samoa as like their fucking guinea pigs, like their fucking, experiments to find out, oh, is my stupid ass, pop theory about vaccines causing autism or causing death, is it true? Let's find out. No one's going to give a shit if we take this island of poor people and tweak
that
their
we colonized, by the way. It's called American Samoa because we don't give them fucking autonomy. We literally, it is an active colony of the United States that he did this experimentation on. That is true, Gavin. Thank you for bringing that up. Holy shit, that's horrifying. 5,700 people infected with the measles after that on a small island. American Samoa, dude, I mean, how big is that?
tiny.
Population.
Yeah, I'm not sure exactly.
I'm just looking it up. Just 47,000 people on their most.
That is genuinely.
Yeah, 47,000 people. So think about what percentage of the population that is, guys. That's like 8% of the population had this shit.
Yeah.
Crazy. And then watching your kids die, you're sick, you can't take care of them. It's unimaginable. Okay, it's fucking horrifying. You want to have anything to do with that? Can't have it. Can't have that shit. Ugh, disgusting. And again, we haven't even talked about the colonial element of that, the history of, experimenting on indigenous peoples on different islands, whether it's medicinally, look up what we did in Puerto Rico, look at, they would make it so that women couldn't have babies in fucking Puerto Rico as like a population control type of deal. That was real. Meanwhile, that same asshole that was doing that was getting fucking wards named after him in America. You could talk about how in Bikini Atoll, we fucking vacated everybody so we could test blowing up nuclear bombs there. Insane shit that we've always done, and this is just another part from fucking 6 years ago, guys. And I had no idea about that.
Isn't that crazy?
It's horrible.
Isn't that crazy? And that's what he wants to do on a nationwide level, essentially, with vaccines. He wants to, just let measles run rampant, reintroduce it back into society, in addition to all the other diseases that we've, managed to curtail as a result of modern medicine and vaccine science. It's absolutely crazy. And again, I get it. Like, the options are bad, guys. Trump sucks. Biden sucks. You want a shiny new object as a political commentator to, this guy says, every once in a while he says something that I kind of sort of agree with. Let's maybe get excited about that. No, this is a menace. RFK is a menace. His presidency, God forbid, would result in the deaths of tens of thousands, if not more. I'm not even kidding.